Hi there, Rosanna here with a question for those of you who are really wanting to have a baby. You're apparently doing everything right and you're still not getting the results that you want. The question is, why is that? Well, firstly, let me introduce myself. I am a fertility, pregnancy, birth, postnatal and baby specialist. I am a birth educator, a doula, an emotional mental detox coach and Reiki master, amongst many other things. And I'm a senior yoga teacher who has spent years and years working with women and their partners and their babies to have better outcomes in all areas, from fertility to birth to parenting. Now, why is it that we do everything right and we're still not getting pregnant? Usually it is a mental body overdrive thing, okay? It is about needing to be perfect, the belief of needing to be perfect in order to actually get what you want. And because there is this belief that is implied that if you don't do everything perfectly, you're not going to get the result that you want, you're almost on the back foot because you can't possibly do everything perfectly. You'll always be catching yourself out. And if you're not catching yourself out and you're being a complete stickler to whatever you conceive perfect to be, you are trying so hard to control the process that you're actually not allowing it to happen. How often do you hear that the moment that couples stop trying to get pregnant, they get pregnant? How often do you hear that when they book in for that IVF appointment, even though they've not wanted to for so long, and they've just surrendered to the fact that they're not getting where they want to, and they've let go, they've gone on holiday, they've drunk, they've done whatever they weren't doing for ages because they were being good and perfect, and suddenly they're pregnant. It's the letting go, it's the relaxing that is so important. Now, how do you tell a stressed person to relax? Relax, won't you? Most of us don't realise how stressed we are, okay? The bound up mind, the incessant thoughts, difficulty sleeping, constantly having to do things, endless to-do lists, measuring our worth by how much we achieve, our productivity, how much money we're making, how many material goods we have, how much material wealth we have. All of that is bollocks, okay? All of that is basically taking you out of being in the space that is your parasympathetic nervous system response, which is your rest, repair, feed and breed response. That's when you're able to say, I'm okay, just as I am, I'm happy, I'm content, I'm at peace. In this moment, I am accepting of all that is. If you find yourself needing to control everything around you in order to feel safe, that is a really deep indicator that you have a lot of psychological and emotional baggage that needs to be cleared. And this is not something that I recommend you do through years of therapy, because all that therapy does is it brings to the conscious mind all of the subconscious stuff, and it just gets you regurgitating the story again and again. How often do I hear, oh, I'm like this because my mum did this, or I'm like this because my dad did that, or I'm like this. Okay, when do we stop living someone else's story? When do we start living our own? If you're having challenges with getting pregnant, there is a reason for that, okay? And believe it or not, even if it is really hard for you to accept this right now, it is for your highest good, and it's for the highest good of your baby as well, that you don't get pregnant until you deal with this. So this is your higher self kicking in, going, you know what, sweetheart, I know you really want this, but at the moment you're not in the best possible place to have it, so we want to get you to that place. And that place is contentment. That place is joy. That place is knowing that you can be happy in yourself right now without having something telling you that you're pregnant. Because you know what? We keep pinning our happiness on something outside of us. I'll be happy when I'm pregnant. I'll be happy when I know that this baby's okay through the 12-week scan. I'll be happy when I've had the anomaly scan at such and such state, just so that I know that my baby hasn't got all these problems. I'll be happy once I've got to the 35-week scan and I know there's no complications later on. You keep prolonging your happiness, and it always becomes based on something outside of you rather than you just making the choice inside of you to be happy. Now, you can make the choice in your head that you're going to be happy. It's a conscious choice, and then all of your subconscious programming will go, we're not happy. Here's why we're not happy. Okay? So that is called resistance, and that is what I help you to clear. Because anytime someone says to me they're doing everything right, I know that what they think doing everything right is, and what I know is going to help them to actually conceive and to grow a healthy baby, are not the same thing. They're not getting the result that they want. There is a discrepancy between their conscious will to be pregnant and their subconscious program, which says it isn't safe to be pregnant. So what we do together is we uncover the potential blocks that you have personally, based on your history, based on your life, based on everything that's happened so far, and we clear up what you have inherited. So whether you've had a direct experience yourself or you have inherited trauma through your ancestors, it is important that we clear that from your cellular memory, from all layers of your energy field, and from your physical being, so that you're no longer being motivated by the stories of old, and you are able to show up in your authentic truth now, today, as the being that you are. And so much of your personality, so much of who you think you are, isn't actually who you are at all. It's who you've been programmed to be in order to get the love, the approval, the acceptance of those around you as you were growing up. So I take you through a 12-module process that allows you to look at your intention, to align with your intention, to clear up the resistance, and then to act in an inspired way in your day-to-day life, so that you know that what you want is well on its way, and you are acting in such a way that you are aligned with it, and you're expecting it, and you are welcoming it rather than resisting it. If this sounds intriguing to you, and you feel ready to do some deep inner work and to challenge yourself in ways that you haven't done before, because this is an incredibly complex program, and I have an 87% success rate with my IVF clients, with my fertility clients. I don't have IVF clients specifically, although some will conceive naturally and some do conceive through assisted fertility methods. What I will say is you will more than double your chances of conceiving through assisted fertility methods, if that is still something that will be required, and sometimes it is. And you will maximise your chances of conceiving naturally through working with me, because I work with every layer of your being. I work with your physical, emotional, psychological and mental, spiritual. And ideally I'm working with your partner too. So the program Conceive with Ease is available as a digital only self-study program, which is obviously the most sort of low cost option. But then you can also work with me in my group coaching online, and you can work with me with one-to-one coaching, which I highly recommend if you have a more complex setup, as in you know there are physiological reasons that are preventing you from conceiving naturally or making it harder for you to conceive naturally, or your partner has issues too. So in an ideal world, our partners are on board. You know, this says a lot about your relationship and how ready you both are to bring a baby into the world. Are you on board together? Are you able to work together? Are you willing to do whatever it takes together? Is he or is she doing what she needs to do, he doing what he needs to do, in order to be able to meet you on the level you want to be met at, and to do everything that is possible to maximise your chances of conceiving naturally? These options, all available to you, and we discuss them through the breakthrough call that I always invite you to make ahead of us looking at how we're going to work together. The reason I do that is I screen all of my clients. I need to know that you're ready to work with me in the deepest possible way, and that you're going to trust me to take you places that might be challenging to go to, that might be uncomfortable to go to, knowing that I've worked with many people to get them through the challenges that you're going through yourself, and that it is safe to go where we're going together. So this minimises the need for therapy, for years of counselling, for all the rest of it, because you're actually just working with clearing the subconscious and making the decision to no longer be influenced by it, as in that isn't the story that you're going to keep putting forward. And as you change your view of the world around you does change. So whether you perceive the world to be safe or not will say a lot. Whether you perceive whether you are safe in yourself or not will say a lot. And the question is, why don't we create that safety first before we look at bringing a baby into this environment that is you and your environment? Because the more you feel well supported, safe, loved, held, given to, the more you're creating a thriving environment for your baby to grow in. So the call has a cost, and that cost is taken off my group or one-to-one coaching if you decide to go ahead with that. If you don't, you're also going to get so much from the call in itself that will support you to get very clear on where your personal blocks are in relation to actually having a baby. So that might be all you need, and you may well find that that just clears the block wherever it's needed. Otherwise, working with me will be the greatest investment you make, not just in terms of maximising your chances of conceiving, but in terms of preparing for the whole journey of parenthood, of enjoying every step of the way. And I just wish everybody took the time to do the pre-work ahead of getting pregnant, because as the mother of an 18-year-old who got pregnant just like that, I can tell you, you learn the hard way where your stuff hasn't been dealt with, and how you then pass that from one generation to the next. There's nothing worse than seeing your children suffer with the unprocessed emotional and psychological baggage that you have inherited and you haven't dealt with. And that is a big reason why I offer the course that I do, because I'm very passionate about preparing parents to be heart-centered parents rather than just being parents that recreate what was done to them without ever stopping to think, is this the way I want to show up as a parent in the world? So this is speaking to you. You know what to do. Get in touch. Let's book a breakthrough call today and get you well on your way to conceiving naturally with assisted fertility methods, whatever it needs, grace and ease. Namaste.